Okay, race fans, welcome back in. It's Sunday evening. That means we're doing Apex, this Porsche Cup and Cayman GT4 racing. This week, it's the penultimate round to the season. Round 11 takes us to Watkins Glen in the Finger Lakes region of New York. Normally, the full length of the track stretch is out about 3.45 miles. Oh, pardon me, I just had to sneeze there. But we're running the shorter layout here tonight, something you would see familiar when the NASCAR series comes here. We're not doing the boot section, as you can see up on the map there. We're doing the classic configuration. This one stretches about, I think it's only about 2 miles long, so quite a bit shorter, but it should still be challenging for our drivers out here tonight. And as we do some racing in the Seneca Lake region of New York State. I am, as usual, Rob Campbell, and as I mentioned, penultimate round here this evening. So, last couple chances for our drivers to put some points on the board. We do have championship standings to have a look at. Let's take a look at those while we got just wait for our drivers to put in some laps. First up, let's take a look at the Porsche Cup side of things. Brian Zinn leading the way on the P Cup side of things, but if you listen to our interviews last week, you hear that Brian Zinn not here this week, so chance for Mark Miller in second place, Joseph Maher to try and snatch some points away in that championship battle, currently sitting in second and third place. Brian Lemke in fourth place at 92 points, just ahead of Richard Swindells and Justin Atchison, who are tied for fifth place in the final spot in the top 5. We quickly stroll back through the rest of our top 10 there. But let's take a look over on the Cayman side of things. The GT4 cars currently being led around by Spencer Bodway. Bodway holding a little bit of a gap over Ozek Sulu. Kent Kruger was one of our top runners throughout the season early on, but Kent hasn't been around towards the last half of the season here. Just a few races that's dropped him back to third place at 108 points, 8 points back of second place Ozek Sulu, but still room for movement there in the top 5 as Aaron Sunday only another 5 points back of Kent Kruger. So still up for grabs in both of our series. Our drivers are going to want to try and capitalize the best they can out here this evening and see how they can do as far as pulling some points back. So qualifying underway. We'll take a look at the times we got in so far, with Morgan Smith jumping up top of the Porsche Cup standings there with that last lap of 107.6 is going to put him up just ahead of Zach Peterson. It's going to drop Peterson down to second place, 1/10 back of Morgan Smith. Brian Lemke currently in third place. He was our early pole sitter in Porsche Cup, but now as some more laps come in, that's dropped him back. Jonathan Cooper currently sitting up top of the Cayman field, but he's pulled it into the pits. That's right on board here with Ozek Sulu, currently our second place car. Oz in a bit of a championship battle, currently holding down second spot in the Cayman class. Would love to snatch some points away from Spencer Bodway. Bodway currently qualifying behind Ozek Sulu right now, so Bodway, our championship leader, would love to put in a real quick lap here to try and move himself up a little farther in the championship contention, as he's leading the way here so far. But we still got a few minutes to go in qualifying. Let's take a look at our schedule here, see where we've been so far. So you can see there that we started out in Silverstone, and then we made our way off to Monza and Imola for a couple of Italian stops, VIR for round 4, Oulton Park for round 5. Road Atlanta was round 6, Spa in round 7, Daytona round 8, Red Bull Ring brought us round 9. Last week we're at Interlagos in Brazil. This week round 11, Watkins Glen, and then we're going to finish it up round 12 at WeatherTech Laguna Seca next week. So it should be a real interesting one to finish up the season at. Laguna Seca could be fairly tight for some cars, especially in the Porsche Cup cars where they don't have any ABS or traction control. Heading into the world famous corkscrew section, excuse me, can be a bit of a challenge in these cars. So currently on board with Kent Kruger. He's sitting in third place right now in the Cayman class. He's managed to separate Ozek Sulu and Spencer Bodway in qualifying. So mentioned moments ago that Ozek Sulu, currently a second place driver in the championship standings for the GT4 side, would love to put some space between him and Bodway. Kent Kruger starting in between them is exactly what Ozek Sulu would like to see now. It's time for Sulu to try and convert that over to a nice finish at the end. So we'll see if he's able to do that. But right now on board with Uwe Hale. He's our final driver on track, as it looks like everybody else has popped into the pits and completed their lap times. So it's kind of surprising to see most of our drivers done, but this is the shorter layout of Watkins, where we're Xing the boot, the world famous boot section off track and running the NASCAR type of layout that you would see when those drivers come in. Oh, we see Wheel just hammering the outside wall in the final corner. That's definitely not going to be the way that he wanted to finish up that lap. So that should all but finish up qualifying here, but we'll just have to wait for the clock to tick over before we can have a look at the final standings. But what a wreck there for Uwe Hill. So next week, as I mentioned, we head to Laguna Seca in California to the WeatherTech Raceway. We got a nice showing out here so far. We got 15, 16, 17, 18, possibly 19 cars on track. Doesn't look like we have qualifying times for Chris Diaz, Kelly Greenhoe, Donald Mensing, or Maciej Zablowski. Jeez, it's a new name here. Zablowski. He was in practice, but I don't see any qualifying times here, so we'll see if they make it out to the grid. But we're just waiting for clock to tick over here. We could have a look at the final standings. It'd be nice if Uwe Hill, our final driver who was on track, could just hit that ready to race button, and then we could get off into the racing. But Barney's there ready. He's got his flag ready to wave, eager to get this thing underway. Let's take a quick look here at the weather while we have a moment. I didn't really notice it when we were looking at the session early on, but let's take and see what our drivers are going to be dealing with. As we got 20-degree air temp, that's going to translate to 32 degrees Celsius track temp, so it's going to be a little on the hot side for our drivers. So we're going to have to do a little bit of tire management out there. Our drivers aren't going to have to really push deep into the corners, as the Porsche Cups will tend to burn off the front tires as it is, but you get a little higher track temp like we're seeing here this evening. 32. Oh, it just clicked up to 33 degrees there now, so getting even warmer. And interesting enough, the actual air temperatures dropped 1 degree off, so we've lost 1 degree of air temperature but picked up 1 degree of track temperature. So interesting to see. You can see 0% chance of rain, and the track status is dry, so no real weather for our drivers to have to deal with at all, other than the little bit of heat. And as the session clicked over into the race section there, you can see we actually lost a couple more degrees, actually 5 degrees off the track temp. So it just got that much cooler for our drivers and that much easier for them to save tires. So let's take a look at the qualifying results. Morgan Smith's going to top the field. He'll have Zach Peterson to his outside. They'll have Brian Lepke and Mark Miller in behind them. Jesse Meager and Joseph Mara are going to make up row 3. Daniel Salmon and Richard Swindells, that's both team pit road production drivers, in 7th and 8th. Christopher Diaz in 9th, and Donald Mensing is going to round out the top 10. Then we'll see if Maciej Zablowski and Kelly Greenhoe grid up. And then we get into the Cayman side of things. John Cooper in top spot. He'll have Ozzy Sula to his outside. Spencer Bodway and Kent Kruger and Spencer Bodway going to make up row 2. Sean Teeter in row 5. Rowan Bykoff in 6th. And Uwe Hale going to round out the field in 7th place of the Cayman class. So we're just waiting for a few more drivers to grid up here, and then we'll have our short pace lap here behind the pace cars. We're gridding up on the little short chute between what would have been the entrance to the boot in the traditional layout and the exit onto, I believe that's turn 8. It is coming back out of the boot and heading to the penultimate corner. So right now it doesn't look like Donald Mensing or Kelly Greenhoe have grid up, or Zablowski in the Porsche Cup car. So that's what we're waiting on here to start the race. So looks like we're going to be starting without them. We'll see if we get a pit road start for either Mensing or Greenhoe. I know Mensing was in the practice session just before the qualifying session started, so surprisingly, oh, there he is. He just gridded up at the end. And there we go. Clock taking over, 2-minute mark. That's going to get us ready to do a little bit of racing out here this evening. There we go. Pace car pulling away. And along with that goes our field. Morgan Smith, Zach Peterson going to lead them around. start the penultimate round of season 23 Porsche Cup Cayman GT4 season. As usual, this will be a 35-minute race. Drivers will need to come in and get some fuel at some point in time. They do not need tires. They can take them if they want, but generally it's more preferential not to. You don't want to really burn any more time in the pits than you need. There we go, green flag away. Off into turn one, going to be led by Morgan Smith and Zach Peterson. As Peterson goes a little wide, that's going to allow Lemke to tuck up on the inside. But Peterson gets a better run out of turn one, utilizing that late exit, late braking on the outside. He's going to try and get a run around Morgan Smith on the outside. Looks like he's going to pop up into top spot. It's going to move. Oh no, we got cars in the back. Looks like Jesse Meager's involved. Joseph Meyer involved too as well, right in front of the Cayman class. They have to get slowed up. Looks like most of our Cayman drivers got through there. That could have been all kinds of worse. We'll take a look and see what happened there in a moment. But looks like right now, fortunately, only Jesse Meager and Joseph Meyer got tied up in that one. But that being said, Morgan Smith now dropped back to third place as Brian Lemke was able to get it around two as well. Our top five were fortunate enough that wreck was in behind them. That's managed to allow them to break away from the rest of the Porsche Cup field. See if we take a look at what happened here with Joseph Meyer. So see Meyer coming through. So he's just going to tag the back quarter. Now Jesse Meager. Meager gets shot into the fence, comes off the fence, and kind of hits the back end of Joseph Meyer again, and around they go. So could have been a whole lot worse. So thankfully it wasn't. So he's got a battle in behind them. Daniel Salmon trying to put some pressure on Mark Miller. That's a battle for 4th and 5th place in the Porsche Cup side. Salmon trying to throw it around the outside into the carousel. Miller trying to fight back on the inside. Oh, they're going to touch ever so slightly. Miller touches the quarter of Salmon. Looks like they touch again, and they're both actually going to get straightened out. Looks like it's going to work out actually well for Daniel Salmon. He was able to complete that pass with the extra tap there. So we'll see if we can take maybe another look at what happened there and see if we can digest what just went down there. But here, let's take a look here from Daniel Salmon's car. So a little touch there as they head into the carousel. They separate. Miller onto the inside, Salmon on the outside. And they're going to have ever so slight of a touch. And there it is. That's all it took to get things unwound there. But Salmon able to complete the pass. He's going to move up into 4th place. Let's go back up front as Morgan Smith has gotten back around Zach Peterson and Brian Lemke to take back top spot as they head into the carousel. Looks like Peterson trying to make a run around the outside. Morgan Smith will have the inside, but Peterson should be able to get a better run as you can use all that runoff onto the left-hand side right there to maximize your exit speed. And there it is. He's going to take that spot back. Let's take a quick look here at how Morgan Smith was able to get around Zach Peterson. He utilized the draft up through the S's to take that spot away. But as we just saw, Peterson able to fight back. Let's check in on our GT4 drivers. Spencer Bodway, our championship leader, has been able to get himself up in the top spot. So while we're having a look at everything that was going on in Porsche Cup side of things, Spencer Bodway moving up 5 spots, get himself up into the top spot in the GT4s. Looks like Donald Mensing falling down the grid. He's pulled into pits. So I'm not sure what happened to Mensing here. It looks like he might have crashed. Let's see if we can pick up what happened to him. So coming into the final corner here. Oh, he's just going to lock it up off into the wall. And that's going to pretty much spell the end for Donald Mensing as he pops in to use his quick repair to get back out on track. Looks like Diaz, a little bit of damage on the front end. I think he might have just clipped the spinning car of Meager once he popped back off that wall and tagged Joseph Marr early on. I think that just caught the front end of his car. That's where he's got that little bit of damage there. Let's pop back to the GT4 battle here. We got Roman Bykoff leading Sean Teeter, Ozzik Sulu, Kent Kruger. Take a quick look here where we focus on them to see if we can see how Spencer Bodway got himself all the way up in the top spot. So it looks like it might have been as the GT4 cars came through the wreck. Oh, there it was. Bodway just looks like he didn't slow up. He just kind of kept full throttle through there and made up all those positions where the rest of the GT4 field got on the brakes for that wreck that was happening up ahead. So it'll be interesting to see if the stewards review that one at all. As, I know they're pretty adamant on slowing down for yellow flags in this league, but we got a battle here. See Xulu going wide, trying to hold off Kent Kruger in behind, but as they do that, they get some Porsche Cup of Jesse Meager trying to make his way back through. Meager, the one of the secondary car involved in that early wreck, where he got tagged in the corner by Joseph Marr, and there he goes around again. Ozzik Sulu, Kent Kruger get involved too as well. Let's see what happened there. It looked like it was all possibly set off by Meager trying to make his way through the Cayman class. So let's see if we can pop back here, have another look, see what went on with this one. As see Meager on the inside, looks like he's going to get up on the curb. He's going to lose the back end, and Kruger looks like goes wide to avoid him, and unfortunately for him, or I guess unfortunately for Ozzik Sulu, he was out there. Back up front of the GT4 field, Spencer Bodway now caught by John Cooper. We'll see if Coop could put a little bit of pressure on the back end of Bodway as they're heading up through the S's towards what would normally have been the braking section for the bus stop, but no bus stop here tonight. This is really, in my opinion, a boring layout. I'm not sure why iRacing even has this layout, but even the NASCAR layout, you use the bus stop and then come back out and then swoop around here, but there's really nowhere to pass here unless somebody wrecks or really gets offline. It's just a draft fest, but they're going to continue to battle up front. Lemke leading Peterson around. Their top three have been jockeying spots. See Morgan Smith falling back a little bit off that battle. He's now back to 6/10 behind Zach Peterson, who's tucked right up on the back bumper of Brian Lemke. Looks like Peterson not going to make a move into the carousel this time by, although he's closing up a little bit on the back of Lemke as it stands now. Lemke's going to take it wide, utilize as much of the runoff as he can to keep that top speed up the best he can out of that exit. This layout at Watkins Glen is one of those rare layouts where going wide and not actually being on the apex is going to carry more speed during the majority of the lap and actually put it in a little quicker time and actually be able to defend a pass where normally you want to take the shortest route around the track to maximize your, I guess, minimize your lap time, maximize your speed. But here in this layout, especially through the carousel in, I guess it would be turn 5, I guess would be in this layout. That's where you got all the runoff off to the left-hand side that you can utilize as much as you can. We saw how Lemke was able to do that last time by. We saw Morgan Smith able to get around Zach Peterson as Peterson had a little meeting with the outside wall in the final corner that allowed Morgan Smith to get back by. But as long as these three stay within draft range, the leader will never really be able to pull away. That's why we've seen so many position swaps up in the top three here. Spot back here a little further where we saw Daniel Salmon and Mark Miller battling earlier on. Looks like Miller was able to utilize the draft as well to get back up with Salmon, but looks like Richard Swindells is caught up on this pack too as well. So Swindells coming from a way back to join this battle here as we we're in more with Swindells. What happened to the two drivers' head? Looks like they blinked out there for a second. There we go. We can see Salmon up ahead as he's trying to battle with Mark Miller on board with Richard Swindells. Probably the best seat right here if those two get racy again, like we saw earlier, Swindells could pick off 2 positions. Not the best exit out of turn 1 for Swindells. Going to cost him a little bit of time. He's flirting with losing the draft here on those 2 cars up ahead. He's going to need to stay tucked in there the best he can. About 8/10 back now. Draft on the Porsche Cup is about 1 second back. So if he could stay there, he can start to reel him in. You can see he's closing that gap down as Salmon looks to the outside of Miller. He's going to try the long way around. As I mentioned, it's actually the better way around this corner. You keep up more speed. You see him closing in there. Unfortunately for Salmon, though, Miller's going to be able to utilize that runoff, keep the speed up. Salmon not going nearly as far off track to keep his top speed up, especially Kenna Miller. It's probably a mistake there. It cost him a little bit of time. That's going to allow Miller to hold off the charge from Daniel Salmon. See Mark Miller with a little bit of connection issues. We've seen that from time to time throughout the season. It's going to be a little unnerving for the car behind trying to battle with him. Our leader, Brian Lemke, right now, no connection issues for him. Top 3 starting to spread out a little bit. We've seen them nose to tail quite a bit, but now we got almost 4/10 between Brian Lemke and Morgan Smith for 2nd place. Zach Peterson another 4/10 back of that, but the top 3 still only separated by 9/10, so under a second, still within draft range of the leader, even in 3rd place, but he's got the buffer. Morgan Smith in between them in 2nd place. Back in GT4, looks like John Cooper was able to get around Spencer Bodway to take over top spot. We'll see if Bodway is able to push back ahead as his championship competitor, Ozzik Sulu. We saw what happened between him and Kruger as they were trying to navigate around the spinning Porsche Cup of Jesse Meager. Fortunately for Xulu, got a little bit of a shove from our fearless leader, Kent Kruger, and put him out into the wall, so he's trying to recover from that. Still 4 seconds back of Kent Kruger up ahead. The battle here between Roman Bykoff and Sean Teeter, that's for 3rd place in the Cayman side of things. Teeter trying to hold off the charge of Bykoff. Bykoff in his traditional Coors Lightning paint scheme, trying to put some pressure on the back of Sean Teeter just ahead. Teeter doing well to keep that car in front of Bykoff, trying to make it as wide as he possibly can. Takes it out to the wall. You hear a light little scrub of the wall there from Teeter, possibly from Bykoff too as well, but nowhere near what happened to Zach Peterson when he lost that position. So their leaders up ahead as they're making their way around Ozzik Sulu, we were just watching earlier on. Looks like Xulu has gotten possibly around Kent Kruger. Or no, Ozzik Sulu now a lap down. See Kent Kruger just behind Xulu here. But timing and scoring, Xulu almost a full lap down to Kent Kruger. So interesting. I'm not sure why he lost so much time. He hasn't come into the pits. Something else might have happened after. That is it with Kent Kruger. Let's take another look here. So this was what happened between he and Kruger. Kent got out to him, but he was able to get going again. So I'm not sure how he lost all that time. Oh no, that's Uwe Hale. That's my confusion. There it is. Hale and Kruger running similar paint schemes. That threw me off there for a moment. Back up to our battle up top. Lemke leading the way. Morgan Smith is caught back up to him now, though, looking to put some pressure. We'll see if Smith able to pressure Lemke into the carousel. He's going to drift a little wide through the S's. That's going to allow Zach Peterson to close that gap. You see Peterson getting a nice run through the S's here. He should have actually taken a bump draft. Morgan Smith there, so they can close up on the back of Brian Lemke up ahead, but Peterson pulls out. his pullout game strong in this one, Zach Peterson. He could have actually taken and pushed Morgan Smith up towards Brian Lemke, and they could have closed that gap up, but now they've got the lap traffic up ahead of Bykoff and Teeter. That battle we were looking at earlier, they catch him on the front straight, which is probably the best spot to catch lap traffic. They move around and see Morgan Smith bump drafting Lemke down the front straight, trying to make a move onto the inside, late in the brakes, a little bit of a lockup on the right front. It's going to force Smith out wide. Lemke going to dive back underneath. Looks like Zach Peterson going to take that position away too as well. That's going to relegate Morgan Smith back to third place. He looks thought about diving up on the outside. They don't really want it. It's not a spot where they want to battle. They want to get back in the draft as quick as they can. Otherwise, they're going to let Lemke get out front and potentially open up that gap. It's like Christopher Diaz is going to come in for his pit stop. The car, we saw this little bit of damage on the front, so he'll get that fixed up, get himself back on track. But Mark Miller looks like he's dropped Richard Swindells, and looks like Daniel Salmon all the way back into 7th place. See what happened to Salmon here, as he'd fallen back behind Richard Swindells coming through the penultimate corner. Oh, he's going to lose the back end, tag the front end on the wall there, and around he goes. So it looks like he was able to pop into the pits after that, use his quick repair, get back out on track. So rough day for him. Fortunately for Richard Swindells, though, that's going to promote him up into 5th place, as Morgan Smith could come in too as well for his pit stop at the 16-minute mark. So we're at the halfway, or almost at the halfway mark of this one. We've seen a number of cars coming in to utilize the undercut. It's like pretty much 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th in the Porsche Cup field have all come in for their pit service. We haven't seen any of the GT4s in yet for service though. As our leader, Brian Lemke, making his way around the lap car of Donald Mensing. Saw Mensing earlier have that spin. He had to come in and use his quick repair to get back out on track. Zach Peterson is going to want to try and get around Mensing as quick as he can, as Lemke's already by him. Peterson losing time as it stands right now. Lemke able to pull away. Oh, Mensing goes wide into the wall again. No doubt Peterson had to do a slight lift there and didn't want to get involved with the lap car of Mensing. Holding just in draft range here for Peterson. We'll see if he's able to close that gap as they head through the S's. He's going to try and push the best he can to stay in draft for Lemke. I suspect if Lemke can get Peterson out of the draft here, he might be able to pull away to a big enough gap that might be insurmountable for Peterson. He's not in the draft. I'm not sure why he's not overdrafting Lemke up ahead, losing valuable tenths here. Let's go back to this battle between Teeter and Bykoff. Bykoff falling back a little bit off the back of Teeter. See that nasty little bump in the transition from the bus stop exit back onto the straight. You catch that the wrong way and your car could go for a heck of a ride out there. Not much in the way of battles right now. It looks like Miller and Swindells are coming in for the pit stop. Swindells actually pushed that last lap, closed the gap up on Miller sufficiently. It was about 8 tenths early on, but Swindells has that down to a number of tenths as they head into the pit cycle. So we'll see who has the quicker pit stop here. See if Swindells is able to leapfrog Mark Miller through pit strategy, but Christopher Diaz and Daniel Salmon are highest placed drivers that had pit before they came in. So we'll see if Diaz is able to leapfrog either Swindells or Miller. Diaz heading into the final corner here now. Mark Miller, Richard Swindells still in their stalls. They're exiting their stalls there now. Swindells not able to leapfrog Miller, but you see Diaz coming into the final corner in the background. These two will get out ahead of him within time. Now this battle is for the final step on the podium. See if Swindells has anything to offer Mark Miller, as we've got about 15 and a half minutes to go in this one. on the back half of this race now. The battle for P3 is about to carry on. Morgan Smith, unfortunately, saw him come in earlier for the undercut. Minute 22 in the pit stall. That's going to suggest to me that possibly a speeding on pit road penalty for Morgan Smith. So one of our potential winners early on in this one, suffering a speeding penalty. It's a 40-second stop and hold penalty. So fortunately for him, that's going to basically dash all of his dreams of winning here this evening. Back up top, Lemke and Peterson still leading the way. We haven't seen pit stops from either one of these drivers. I suspect we might see them in this lap or the next lap, but still plenty of time to go in this one. Peterson's been working at closing that gap down, staying a little more in the draft this lap than what he did the lap before, where he was kind of drifting out to the right, getting out of that draft zone of Lemke up ahead. They're coming up with some lap traffic of Joseph Marr up ahead. Marr, one of the cars involved in that lap one spin through the S's. Let's take a look back here from Lemke as what he sees in his mirrors, looking back at Zach Peterson. Lemke able to open that gap up to about a second now over Peterson. So Peterson losing time. Lemke almost had him out of the draft into turn one. Peterson still just on the edge, on the cusp of draft, able to close back in ever so slightly, but he needs to stay more in the draft here to try and close that gap down on Brian Lemke. Is Lemke showing a little bit more pace? Peterson's going to need that draft to close that gap. You can see exiting out of the brake sections, Lemke able to get into the throttle a little quicker, and he opens that gap up almost every time. Got a battle for the lead in GT4. Looked like Spencer Beaudoin pushing Jonathan Cooper down the straight. So two of them have now opened up 6.4 seconds over Sean Teeter and Roman Bykoff. The battle still stays the way it was. Teeter still leading the way. Bykoff still trying to find a way around. Looks like right now Bykoff is trying to push Teeter forward. That's probably the best strategy here. Two of them working together, trying to draft ahead, trying to close that gap on the two up ahead instead of battling for third place. Try and close that gap. It's the best move right now as Beaudoin and Cooper are into the pits. So looks like Teeter and Bykoff going to go around another lap that'll promote them up in the top spots. They need a quick lap here so they can try and close that gap in on Cooper and Beaudoin, who are into the pits now. So they'll be coming out with cold tires. Low fuel, warm tires is the time you really need to push that extra lap. Battle for third place. Mark Miller still holding off the charge of Richard Swindells. So Swindells holding steady about half second back of Miller as they head through the S's in lap 20. So we're doing just, what are we doing? Just over 1 minute lap times, 107s in Porsche Cup, 108s, something like that. So we've got about 12 minutes to go in this one. It's probably another 10 laps at the most. Let's see when the leaders pass timing and scoring as we're still waiting for pit stops from Lemke and Peterson. As they've both went around to start another lap 21, they're on the back stretch. I guess that'd actually be the front stretch. Here we go, Teeter and Bykoff into the pits. So we'll see how it works out with the overcut. These two are attempting on Beaudoin and Cooper. It looks like Beaudoin was able to leapfrog Cooper through pit strategy. He's got himself back out front and quite a ways ahead of Jonathan Cooper, 2.5 seconds. So Beaudoin across the start finish straight now. Teeter and Bykoff both still in their pit stalls. Looks like Bykoff going to get out ahead of Teeter, but Spencer Beaudoin already long gone into turn one. So I'll have to see here. Spencer Beaudoin, check some pit stop times. Beaudoin 43.4 to Bykoff's 44.1, Teeter's 44.7, and Cooper's 45.7. So hopefully Beaudoin has enough fuel on board. He was in draft for the better part of the start of the race. So hopefully calculate that a little bit of fuel savings extra there for that draft. And as our leaders into the pit cycle, looks like Lemke going to get back out ahead of Peterson. So he's actually going to open up a bit of a gap, 1.5 seconds over Peterson. They're going to come out ahead of Swindells and Miller. Looks like Swindells has gotten around Mark Miller. See if we can see what happened there. Here it is. Quick replay. Oh, Miller tags the wall coming out of the final corner. That's all Swindells needed to maximize that speed out of the final corner. He's going to make that pass to move him up into podium position for Richard Swindells. So they're in draft, though, heading up through the S's. We'll see if Mark Miller is able to utilize that draft to make the move back around Swindells. Swindells going defensive on the inside. Miller not taking a chance to run it around the outside into the braking zone. We see the both of them going out wide, using up all the runoff they can to try and maximize the exit speed. Miller tucked tight up on the back bumper from Swindells, trying to force a mistake. Swindells, though, doing well not to push wide. It's like neither of them are going to tap that outside wall into this corner where we saw Swindells get around Miller the lap ago. Into turn one, we'll see if this time that Miller can utilize the draft to make that move. Up top, Brian Lemke now 1.8, almost 2 seconds over Zach Peterson. Zach Peterson is out of the draft now. So barring a major catastrophe from Lemke, he should be able to continue to hold that gap up. As I mentioned earlier, Peterson was flirting with being out of draft earlier on. It's finally cost him. Back to the battle for third place. Miller tight up on the back of Swindells, but not enough overrun to make the move into the carousel. They got the lap car up ahead of, I believe, that is Uwe Hale up ahead. They're going to make a move around the outside of the 929 machine, Uwe Hale. They dispose of him fairly quickly. Into the final corner. Again, Swindells going to lead Miller around to finish up lap 24. Oh, Swindells going to go wide this time into the wall. And just like that, Mark Miller's going to take that position back just the same way he lost it. Back to the GT4 lead. Bodway, Cooper been able to close back in as the lap traffic been making their way through this battle. See Morgan Smith just going out of screenshot there when we caught back up with this battle. He was just going around Spencer Bodway. That's cost Bodway a couple tenths as well. That's allowed Jonathan Cooper to close back up on him. So we'll see if Coop's able to offer up a little something here for Bodway as we're nearing the final 7 minutes of this one. Getting down to the nitty gritty, back to that battle for P2 or P3 that was into the brushes there for a minute. Not sure what our cameraman was looking at, but he must have been licking his ice cream cone while he was watching this one. Didn't realize he was focusing on the trees, but Mark Miller able to hold off Richard Swindells right now, but heading into the final corner, we'll see if Swindells is able to get a nice exit through here, close that gap up. He is still in draft range at about 9 tenths, but just in that range, flirting with being out of draft like we saw happen to Zach Peterson. You can see Miller up ahead. And then I believe that is Donald Mensing, lap car up ahead of them. So we'll see if Mensing plays a role here as this battle comes through to lap him. Cooper now sufficiently up on the tailpipe of Bodway. They come around to finish up their lap 25. They'll have just over 6 minutes to go as they cross the line. See both drivers taking it deep into turn one. Bodway ran a little farther off wide to collect the car up. Cooper with a better line out of turn one and to carry a little more top speed into the S's here. We'll see if he's able to make a move into the carousel. He's within draft, well, he's been within draft range, but tight on the back bumper. So he's just pushing his buddy Spencer Bodway up ahead So you can see that battle off in the distance between Bykoff and Teeter. Still about 5 seconds back, so barring any real major battling here between Cooper and Bodway, they should be able to keep Bykoff and Teeter at bay. I don't suspect either of these drivers are going to really force a mistake on each other. They're, as we've seen throughout the season, a couple of buddies who try and work together, push each other. They will battle in the last lap. The Pyre rules go out the window then, but see how it works out. But back to stop for third place, Miller and Swindells. They've just gotten around the lap car of Donald Mensing. See him in the background there. That's allowed Swindells to close back up on the back bumper of Miller. Now down to 4/10 gap between them. 4.5 minutes to go when they cross the line. So it'll give us probably 3 more laps. We'll see if Swindells has anything in store for Mark Miller. I believe Swindells is actually our biggest mover of the day, tied with Christopher Diaz and Sean Teeter. All those drivers up 4 spots from where they qualified. Oh no, sorry, Teeter's only up 1 spot. I was looking at overall. Swindells up 6 spots. Sorry, Christopher Diaz up 6 spots from where he qualified. So nice job for him. Swindells up 4 spots. The 2 biggest movers are actually in our Porsche Cup field in 4th and 5th place. On board with one of them right now, Richard Swindells is trying to catch back up to Mark Miller just ahead. Miller's been able to hold him off since he's got back around, taken back over P3. We've got a lap car up ahead. I believe that is Ozek Sulu, our 911 car in the GT4 field, just up ahead. It's like they're not going to catch him until they hit the S's, so it'll be interesting to see as a lap car GT4 if he plays into this at all. If Miller's going to have to lift a little bit, see Xulu going a little wide, that's going to compromise Miller's line a little bit. Looks like Xulu going to get well out of the way, but that little bit of breathe that Miller might have had to do on the throttle. Oh no! Swindells unable to navigate around Xulu there. So the second half of the S has drifted a little wide. That's going to basically put him out of the draft range for Mark Miller. Go back up to our leader here, Brian Lemke, now 2 seconds, just over 2 seconds ahead of Zach Peterson. Peterson unable to claw back into the draft of Lemke once he fell out of that draft. Lemke's going to be coming up on this battle for top spot in the Cayman class very shortly. As we see, Baudouin has now fallen back to second place. So he's going to try and make a move around. Oh, man. Dives back. Oh, no, the leader's coming up. What are they doing here? See if they kind of split the field to let... I'm not sure if they were trying to let Brian Lemke through, if they were both planning to go to one side or the other, but they kind of just went left and right, and Lemke was kind of forced to back out of that one. Fortunately for Lemke, he had enough of a gap over second place Zach Peterson that it didn't bring Peterson back into the fold here, but that could have been dicey very quickly. But into the final corner here for Lemke. This should be the second to last lap. Is Barney not waving the white flag yet? So 2 laps to go in this one. Lemke going to lead them around to start lap number 30. So Jonathan Cooper going to follow Spencer Baudouin around here. We'll see if Coop makes the move this time as they exit out of the exit. Oh, looks like a little brush of the Armco by Baudouin heading through the exit of the S's. That's going to cost him a little bit of time, maybe a mile an hour or so. See, Cooper thinks about looking to the inside, doesn't make the move, weaves back around again. A lot of movement out of these 2 drivers, weaving and bobbing back and forth here. Our leader Lemke now opening up that gap over Peterson in second place. 2.8 seconds now over he and Zach Peterson. There we go, come around to start the final lap. Lemke gonna lead the way. Zach Peterson falling to 2.7 seconds. The battle for third place. They're coming into lap traffic there. See Mark Miller having to navigate around Sean Teeter up ahead. I don't think it's going to slow him up enough that Swindells is going to get into the draft. But he's just within draft range now, 9/10. If he can get a good exit through turn one, he might be able to close that gap up, but I think he's running out of time to try and chase down Mark Miller. We saw last time they had to navigate some traffic through the S's here. Swindells drifted a little wide right through here. He's going to hold a tighter line, but fortunately for him, he had to breathe the throttle a little bit, making the move around Teeter. That's going to cost him draft range to Mark Miller up ahead. Miller making it around the GT4 of Roman Bykov. Should all but seal third place for Mark Miller, barring a mistake. Our leader out of the final corner, though, Brian Lemke, going to take round 11 at Watkins Glen in the Porsche Cup. Zach Peterson going to come home second place. Mark Miller looks like he's going to hold off the charge of Richard Swindells to take final step on the podium. Swindells did well to push that final lap, but unfortunately too far back to make a real charge. He's going to come home fourth. Christopher Diaz going to hold off the charging Daniel Salmon. Oh, maybe not. Looks like Diaz running out of fuel in the final corner. That's going to promote Daniel Salmon up into fifth place. Oh no, Christopher Diaz, just not quite enough fuel there. Morgan Smith, one of our early contenders, he's going to come home. Oh man, Christopher Diaz. Fortunately for him, let's see if we can pick up a cockpit view of Christopher Diaz, if we can hear the spinning and sputtering of that car there as Daniel Salmon went by. Oh, you can just hear they're just out of fuel, not quite enough. That was unfortunate for Diaz. You hate to see it, but luckily for him, it only cost him one position when all was said and done. Oh, and we got the celebratory donuts at the end. Okay, that's going to wrap up round 11 here at Watkins Glen. Let's take a look at the final results, shall we? First up, let's take, whoops, that's the points. We want to look at the race results. First up, Porsche Cup. Brian Lemke going to take this one. Zach Peterson's going to come home second. Mark Miller in third. Just off the podium, we find Richard Swindells. Daniel Salmon is going to hop ahead of Christopher Diaz at the line. Morgan Smith in seventh. Joseph Marr in eighth. Donald Mensing in ninth. Jesse Meager out early in this one. And Zablewski and Greenhoe did not see the grid. And then over on the Cayman side of things, we see Spencer Bodway bring home the win ahead of Jonathan Cooper and Roman Bykov. Sean Teeter in fourth, Kent Kruger in fifth, Uwe Hale in sixth, and Ozik Sulu. Fortunate for him, did finish a couple laps down. Okay, so that's pretty much it here for Watkins Glen. Don't see anybody in the interview waiting area, but we actually see if we can let's go chase down a couple drivers here and see if we can force them into the interview booth here with this.
I guess I'm not going anywhere.
with Richard Swindells. Listen, Rich, we got to talk about your chase at the end there, trying to run down Mark Miller. So you had the spot, you got around him when he hit the outside wall, and then a couple laps later you did the same thing, and he was able to get back by you.
I thought it'd be nice and return the favor. Mark was kind enough to let me have a podium spot for a few laps, so I thought I'd give it back to him and catch him later, but a little bit of traffic and I just wasn't able to do it. But fastest lap, 0x, and fourth place, that's not bad for this old geezer.
Yeah, chalk went up for Old Balls Racing. Well done.
The fan's blowing in the right direction, low.
Saggy balls.
Saggy balls racing. Zippy, what the hell happened there? You wrecked yourself. What do you guys say about that?
So I've been having an issue with the USB connection on the front of this case. Well, it did actually bite me again, and I got stuck in fourth gear going around the last turn. And then the one after, I will be honest, was entirely on me, but I was a little bit shaken up from the inconsistency there. I'm going to have to do some hardware adjustments. Leon Lee, don't buy that case. It's their junk, but it was kind of annoying. I made up really good positions at the start, had pace, and then didn't quite manage to do that. But I gotta say, who was it? Christopher Diaz must have literally just run out of fuel at the line, because I'm like, I not got him. Then, oh, thanks very much. I'll take that action. So a good recovery there. But when I lose the hardware connection, literally everybody disappeared at one point, and thankfully Richard was able to get through there without getting saved. But scary moment for sure, Rob. Scary moment.
Well, if Richard didn't have reflexes like a old goat, then he probably wouldn't have made it through there.
Cat-like, baby. Cat-like.
Mountain goat.
Mountain goat, aka Old Balls Racing.
Old saggy balls.
Well, that's kind of like, it's a synonym, right?
Well done. Oh, looks like Spencer's in here too as well. Spencer, congrats on your win in GT4. Looks like you and your buddy Coop are kind of working together to stay ahead of Bykoff and Teeter.
Yeah. It's Cooper called out the yellow flag there at that big crash in the early laps there, and lucky for that, I was able to find my way through and got around without any issues and no dents, so that helped out a lot. I was really looking forward to racing with Kent and Oz tonight, since those guys are right behind me in points, and unfortunately they got into some mess later on the race. But very happy with my first place again.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, you're gonna hear it here first. Kent Kruger wrecked Ozzik Sulu. Kent Kruger wrecked Ozzik Sulu. You hear it here first, Kent. You're on the books.
Woo-hoo.
You're on the books.
Welcome back, Kent.
I'm gonna go close off the show, guys. Congratulations on all of you. Spencer on the win, Rich top 5, and actually Zippy, you got top 5 too at the end there, so congrats.
Purely by good luck rather than good management, Rob.
Later, boys. Okay, so we're gonna head back into the booth. We did our chat there quickly with the 3 drivers that were hanging around in Discord. Not a whole lot to see, I think, as far as Rex. This one, we looked at everything for the most part, and I don't think we really need to go back and look at them all. That was everything that was flagged in my system here. So thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next week for the championship finale at where are we going? WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca Speedway. Or Speedway? WeatherTech Laguna Seca Raceway, I think, is the actual full name of the track. But I am Rob Campbell. This is Sky Lounge Media. You can catch me again this week if you want to hear the smooth, sultry sounds of a sim racing boomer. Tomorrow night, Monday night, we'll be doing Pit Road Productions, the WBM Elite Entertainment Series. You can catch us there for GT3 racing. And then no Tuesday night racing this week. We won't be back again until Saturday doing the Almeida Race Academy on Pit Road Productions. So by all means, tune in over on their channel, and we will see you next time. Bye for now.